Okay, welcome to the Crow Discovery Project. I have been waiting for decent weather since March around here. We had a pretty clear day. I can spot a mountain that's a few miles off. Looked pretty decent, so I figured I would head up to one of the vantage points in San Diego. So I took a bit of a drive and headed up to a place called Mount Helix. Helix is about 1,300 feet tall, and it gives you a decent view. There are better spots, and on clearer days I will hit those to do optical tests to see how far I can see in preparation for the road trip. But to catch everyone up, here in San Diego, the police state is in fact closing in on us. There is barely a day when we do not see Department of Fatherland security choppers in the air and these sheriffs that are constantly buzzing everyone. And as you can see here, they have all kinds of high-tech stuff hanging off these choppers. Bear in mind, we live in a city where probably the lowest paid police, or we were at one point. For a moon update, we've had very few days where we could shoot the lunar cycle. Recently we did have, I don't know, 3-4 days, and each one of those days was not a full night of shooting before chemtrails closed the sky on us. This is one of those nights early in the night, and the moon was just crystal clear. We'd had some showers, so it would have been a perfect night to film things. Most of the time since March, we have not been able to film the lunar cycle, which is very unusual for San Diego. San Diego should have been in pretty much summer weather for the past few weeks now. Oftentimes in San Diego, when I was a kid growing up, we'd be in the pool by May. And so we've just had some very abrupt weather changes here. But anyhow, let's take a look at the optical test I was able to do from the top of Mount Helix that I drove over to today, which I'm going to load up here in a couple seconds. Here we go. So as I drove, this is Mount Helix. It's roughly 1,300 feet above sea level, I believe, or 1,300 feet tall. I'm not sure if that's what they're measuring from there. There's a cross on top of this mountain. Many people in San Diego will know it. First thing I shot was Lion's Peak. This is roughly 14 miles distance. I had a very good view of Lion's Peak, and I could actually see mountains further behind. So what I decided to do was shoot down into Mexico, off the Mexican coast at the Coronado Islands, and a couple other targets. Now the reason I'm doing this is in preparation for the road trip. I'm starting to pick some locations where I want to do some optical tests, and I'm trying to get a sense of how far I can actually see. And since I would estimate that the seeing at distance today, it wasn't great, was probably about 50% of what it could be on a clear day. And when I do get a clear day, I'm going to go to even a better mountain to do the shooting. Now this was the farthest shot I was able to do. This is in the background, you can just barely see through the haze of Tijuana, Mexico. I'm shooting over Tijuana, Mexico here, which is why the air quality is so bad. That mountain, I believe, is called Table Mountain. The problem is when I looked it up on a map, it was hard to be sure what the measurement was just because of the way it's listed, and there's more than one mountain in the area called Table Mountain, and there's one on this side of the border too, which shows up in a lot of literature. So then I swung out to the right here over the coast, and what you're seeing there is the beach. That's ocean in the middle, and that is one of the Coronado Islands. As a matter of fact, that might be called Faro Island, I'm not sure, but this is the Coronado chain. Look to the right side of the screen, you'll see a tiny spit of an island. That island is 36 miles distant from me. So on a day like today, where the haze was just so bad, I started to get a sense of how far I'm going to be able to shoot. Now when I go out on the road trip, I want to see if I can shoot some things at vanishing point and then determine how far that is, and some other tests which I will not pre-announce. Now what I'm doing here is looking down to the Mexican coast in the south, and each one of these images as they load will go one image right up the coast of California. There's the Coronado Islands out there. Now we're coming up on the city of San Diego, which will appear on the right. There's the city of San Diego on the right of frame. I've had to ruin these images to color correct them enough to see the horizon. And that spit of land in the far distance is roughly geez, I've forgotten, 13 to 16 miles distant, I think. Now, there are some better mountains way the heck out in East County that I will probably go to when we get an absolutely clear day, and I will do these tests further in preparation for the road trip. So, I'm starting to make plans, starting to set my path, and starting to think about locations that I will absolutely shoot at. And as I mentioned, some of these places I want to see what the optical terrestrial distance limit is that I can shoot something. I mean, can I shoot something at 100 miles? Is it possible? We'll see what I can shoot. On top of that, there are going to be some dark sky locations. There will be some lunar observation because the lunar cycle will happen in part of the road trip. And to top it off, I'm going to be shooting the sky in every state that I go into to observe chemtrails and see exactly firsthand what's going on. And of course, I'll be doing the State of the Union report when I get back to report back to everyone exactly what I see in the country. So there it is. Cheers.